Welcome to CoryelleRoofing, setting the standard. We are in studio today and super excited about our guest today. We're going to talk about something that I think is really sexy. And in roofing, you don't get to do that very often. We're going to talk about solar today. And we have special guests in studio. They're actually joining us via video. So I want to introduce quickly three people. One is Bear McAfee with 820 Solar. Bear, welcome to Setting the Standard podcast. Thank you for being on today.
Thank you for having us.
I'm sorry?
Thank you for having us. We're excited to be here.
And then also Tony Capucelli is the owner of 820 Solar, the founder and partner. And he's joining us today to talk about solar roofing integration. We're going to talk about a lot of things that are really important to businesses, schools, all private and public entities right now. This is some message that a lot of people need to hear. And then also joining us is Kelly Corielle, the Director of Sales for CoryelleRoofing. Kelly, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
We are so excited. Kelly works closely with Tony and Bear on a daily basis. And what they've done is we've partnered to identify opportunities throughout the South in ways that we can assist public and private entities with energy efficiency, with how to handle roofing and solar together. So it's a really exciting time for solar, but a lot of people don't realize that. A lot of people don't understand it. So we're here to clear a few things up today. So again, guys, thank you so much for joining us today. I really want to talk, Tony, if we can just dig right in, I'm going to go to you. I want you to talk a little bit, if you would, about 820 Solar. Number one, what does the name mean?
Yeah, no, thanks for having us for sure. We're really excited about the partnership. But yeah, the number one question we get beyond does solar work in Oklahoma in this region is like, what's 820 about? So it takes 8 minutes and 20 seconds for sunlight to hit the earth to kind of power life. So we took that as our namesake, just to kind of tie what we're doing together. It's a story that people can kind of get behind really quickly and understand that you're using a huge fusion reactor that shows up every single day to power, your home, schools, churches, whatever that might be. So that's pretty exciting.
Love the name. It's such a powerful meaning when you understand it. So Tony, you've got a very decorated career. You've been involved in a lot of business enterprise and opportunities. What brought you into solar?
Yeah. Background was in financial technology, but when we stepped out, my partner and I looking for something to do next. Oklahoma is an energy state. My father's in the oil and gas business. We obviously are really high in oil and gas and wind in Oklahoma. And so I was trying to put solar on my home. It was really hard to do. There weren't a lot of solar developers, and Oklahoma was ranked the 51st worst place, Chris, to sell solar, which is, it's always fun that your industry is like, this is the worst place to do it in this state. But what we realized is Oklahomans wanted to buy solar, and it's another type of energy. It can layer into our economy here. Talked to a lot of folks before we started the solar company, and whether it be homeowners, home builders, commercial owners, nonprofits, politicians, and it was very well accepted. It wasn't that we don't want to do solar. It's like, how do we do it? If we knew how to layer it in, we looked at OG&E and PSO, the biggest utilities. They had great solar policies, and Oklahoma actually just changed our laws to kind of actually accommodate net metering, which is essentially a trade with utility on how you produce energy, to allow us to get into this. And so 2020, we looked at all of those things and said, man, there's confluence of things that would say this is a good time to actually get in and start developing solar energy to be part of our state. And it's been accepted really well. And it's been a really fun industry to be in.
When you guys are taking the market by storm, I think you've basically identified ways to truly bring solar to an understandable level, to make it easy to acquire or simple to acquire. You've brought it to Oklahoma, and not just Oklahoma. I mean, you guys are in Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas, Texas. You're all over the place, right?
Yeah. My partner is out of Louisville market. And so that's kind of our field goal post. We kind of take care of states in between. So we're in 7 states, but our 2 primary warehouses are in Louisville and Oklahoma City. And yeah, we've taken, I think you said something really important there. Solar is hard to understand, but it shouldn't be. I mean, the technology is really simple. It receives sunlight, creates power. And people used to say, what does it power? Like everything. Yeah, it powers, doesn't stop at 60% on your iPhone. It powers it all the way up. It's real electricity. But demystifying it, making it easy to understand and then buy. Those are the two things that I think a lot of people are excited about the technology, but 820's go-to-market strategy is to simplify things so that not only can you be excited about it, but you can actually capitalize it, put it on your project, and start meriting the benefit that comes from solar, which is what we all want out of it, right? And so especially one of the things that I find particularly important to Oklahomans and folks in kind of this flyover state area is solar is one of the only ways you can independently produce power. And so at the core of buying decisions, yeah, you need it to work. It needs to be simple, but people want control of their power. They want to know how much that is going to be there dependently, what it's going to cost dependently. So they want to know those things. And that's what I think solar offers and why it satisfies a kind of pretty deep need we have.
I agree with that. And one of the reasons that CoryelleRoofing decided to partner, approached 820 Solar mutually and said, we want to be able to work together with you guys. We have a lot of clients that are interested in solar, a lot of people that don't understand it. The reason 820 Solar made so much sense is because you guys have truly figured it out and you do bring it to market. You create the simplicity that people need. We've witnessed that over and over again. Barry, you're the guy on the streets. You're the guy that's out meeting with clients on a regular basis. I know Tony goes in when he's needed, but what's it like in a state like Oklahoma? Tony said a flyover state. That's not a lie. Oklahoma is considered a flyover state. We're proud of it. We love it. But what's it like trying to introduce solar in the state of Oklahoma? Do you run into a lot of roadblocks, challenges, confusion? Is it getting easier to explain and for people to understand?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think kind of at the foundation of what we do is we're consultants, we're energy consultants. And so there's just a lot of education about, how do I buy energy? How does it work? What's the energy market doing? Have to understand, like, how do I help and serve an organization? And then it's not a new product, but it is more novel to where I am geographically. And so there's just like an understanding of like, how do I make you feel comfortable with changing the way you think about energy? There's so much going on in the landscape of energy right now that I'm sure we'll get into it. Data centers and AI and just the amount of energy being used. And so it's just a lot of education and then trying to help organizations do what's best to give a little bit of control back to them and prepare kind of, we talk a lot about skating to where the puck's going, like Gretzky said, not just where it is. And so understanding, how do I set my organization up to do well? And so you have to educate a lot. I've been in the industry for about 4 years now. In the last 18 months, there's been another kind of wave of people understanding it as a product, but still new to where we are.
And I would add to that, Barry summarized it pretty well. We started out, Chris, in residential.
Okay.
There's a lot of residential solar companies that actually make you feel really uneasy because their business models are broken. And so that created some more doubt. We've shifted in and now we're a commercial only company. Other than friends and family, people still want to power their homes, but we do mostly like Main Street America, for-profit businesses, or not a nonprofit, schools or whatnot. And once you break through a few of those, it gets a lot easier because now we have a ton of reputable business owners, school districts, huge institutions that are very thoughtful on how they procure and think about these things. So I would say in 2020, people wanted to do it, but had a lot of reticence. And now in 25, you said earlier, we've kind of gotten into these markets when you can point to projects, point to testimonials, and that, we don't have a marketing strategy that's beyond doing really good work. And so, yeah, talk to our customers, look at their bills, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, wow, this is not kind of an aspirational thing. It's a real thing. It's very tangible. It really does affect your bill. And so I would say it was hard in 2020, and there 4 years ago. There's a natural learning curve, but the more Oklahomans do it, and by the way, we were 41st. I think we're now 40. I mean, we were 51st. I think we're now 46th. So we've gained a lot of ground. That helps. When people start seeing it, it becomes more normal.
Hey, we jumped 5 states. We do that 10 years in a row. We're number one.
That's all.
That's pretty
That's all
good.
it's going to take. Yeah.
So it's really interesting. And I think Bear talked about this, that it's, and Tony alluded to it, it's not a new technology. Solar's been around a long time, but I think the interest is fairly new. Um, and tell me if this is fair, Bear. Maybe you can help me understand this. People were interested in solar years ago, but the models didn't make sense. Even if you had a company like 820 Solar that truly knew how to break it down, make it simple, explain it, and educate, the numbers, the return on investment, all of those things years ago just didn't make sense. But because of advancements in technology, it has brought solar to a point where today it makes a lot of sense. And there's even some government incentives tied to solar. So, Bear, is that what you're seeing in the market? People are understanding it, and now it's actually attainable for them?
Yeah, I think the felt need is probably more there as just energy rates have continued to rise. We've seen in Oklahoma, we've been tracking the last 3 years about a 15% annual increase. And so everything feels like it's getting more expensive, but energy is uniquely becoming a pain point for consumers. And then I think looking ahead at, again, what is coming in the energy landscape, I think people are aware of that things are changing and that they have a desire to go solar and to have control and to hedge, and everything feels out of control. So an area where you have the ability to take some of that back, I think, is freeing. And that is colliding with energy rates rising at a really rapid rate where we are in the country. I think one other kind of contribution that it would be unfair for me not to speak to is just the work that my team does. I kind of get to be like the cheerleader that comes in and takes all the glory, but I haven't done the heavy lifting. There's a lot of things behind the scenes that Tony and our organization have done to make it really easy to understand. We have a really dynamic way to model and make evaluations on projects. And then we have unbelievable capital firms that help us bring projects to life. And so my job is really easy in that, like, I kind of get to take credit for a bunch of other people's work. But it is, yes, those things are colliding, as well as just where our organization is uniquely positioned.
Understood. And I couldn't agree with you more, Barry. You know, from the first time I stepped foot in your facility and toured it, your warehouse, you could eat off the floor. The systems are precision, not just your solar systems, but your internal systems, the way that you approach your customers, the way that you position your proposals. 820 Solar is first class and ahead above anybody else that we've ever seen. And Tony also had mentioned that, you know, there's some unfavorable contractors out there that kind of tend to give it a bad rap sometimes. You know, we live in that world. We're in the roofing industry. And so if anybody knows about that, it's us. If anybody can build up a tarnished reputation, it's typically roofing contractors. And we're trying to change that. We're working hard to change that. And I know you guys are too. So that's why I feel like this marriage between 820 Solar and Corielle Roofing is so beneficial. Tony, what is your mission? What do you want to accomplish with 820 Solar?
Yeah. So we started off by, there's something in energy that's an innate human need. Like, no one cannot have fuel to run your home, your business, your school. And so there's something implied in that people need, and serving a need for your neighbor means a lot. And so it creates incredible jobs and all types of jobs to serve our neighbors. And we want to power our communities with that. Our principles are respect, focus, and quality. And inside of those, treat others how you want to be treated. That's why our model had to be examined to make sure it stands up really, really well, treats people well, and how we do an analysis, how we do a project. How would we want it to be installed if it was our business, which, we run on solar here. Focus, we ended up serving certain segments. Out of that, we do a lot of nonprofit work. And it's a really cool model where we can pair high net worth investors to power a school. And so we want to put a ton of that otherwise dollar that's going to run OpEx into their mission. And we're focusing on that, and then quality work. People sometimes don't understand that a solar project is not a decision you're making in 2025. It's a decision you're making for 30 plus years. So we're changing our communities with quality work that will stand the test of time, best warranties, best craftsmanship, best labor. Just like when you all put on a roof, you're not thinking, hey, good, we got to check. You're thinking, how can I make this school district in an incredible position for a long time? So respect, focus, and quality. And our mission ultimately ends in creating raving fans. And so that's like, we're delivering that through power. We're delivering that through energizing their building. And we want people to be really happy because that's, again, we wake up every day thinking, man, if we can do these things really well on those principles, we're gonna have a lot of fun doing that. We're gonna have great partners that we can go alongside and do that together with. And our employees love doing that. So yeah, create raving fans that we wake up every day to do with respect, focus, and quality. And we do it by powering our communities.
Love that. And powering communities, respect, focus, quality, it lines up so well with who we are as a company, Corielle Roofing, our commitment to excellence, our commitment to integrity, and our commitment to growth, our core values, and then protecting people, property, and policy is our mission. So we line up so well. Kelly, when you think about the relationship between 820 Solar and Corielle Roofing and all of the commercial roofing clients that we deal with throughout the South, solar requests and inquiries are not a new thing for us. We get it on a regular basis. But tell me how refreshing it is now that we have a partner that we can actually take into an institution or any kind of commercial enterprise, and we feel confident that that system is going to be the solution that they're looking for, and that 820 is going to break it down. That has to make you feel good.
It does, Chris. As a matter of fact, we've had the experience of the bad contractor. We've had the experience of the contractor that's gone out of business. So working with Tony and Bear and their teams, it's a breath of fresh air. So when I get to work with Bear a lot, and Bear answers his phone, first and foremost, that's a really good quality. He does what he says he's going to do. Their presentations are pristine, and him and Tony always put the client first. So they're always searching for a way to help the system help the client even more, and they give them multiple options. It is absolutely amazing to be a part of.
And it has to be exciting because Tony said something a few minutes ago. He said, you don't buy a solar system for 2025, you're buying it for the next 30 years. This is a 30-year decision. Does that sound familiar? I mean, that's exactly what roofing clients have to think about as well. We sell 20 to 30-year roofing systems and warranty those systems. And obviously a lot of rooftop solar systems, you have to make sure that the roof is able to withstand the elements for the duration of the life of the solar system. So it's a perfect pairing if you can figure that out together. And that's what 820 Solar has done. So Tony, when we talk about technology advancements and we talk about where solar is today, why is now the right time for people to consider solar?
Yeah, Bear was alluding to it earlier. And especially when you talk about roof plus solar, a lot of the questions we get are very expected. Is this going to void my roof warranty? Is this going to screw up my building? And you kind of got to get those out of the way first. No, it actually has been done nationwide for decades. But having roofers and solar companies that now understand it, like that's like the starting point, Chris. That we understand we're not going to void a Duralast warranty, right?
Right.
Because you can't even get onto a building. Now, okay, you said earlier that prices had dropped, and they had. Like solar prices have become more or less a commodity. Now it's just a form factor of how much power can I get into a cell. But the prices are actually going up because when you're in a commodity price, you're now looking at just what does aluminum cost? And so, but it dropped so much over the past decade now that it starts penciling. And then you get roofers and folks that start understanding, oh, this can be done and it won't void. It'll actually be an additive thing to protect a roof because it's got a hail warranty that's, class 4 rated, and it's a really strong, actually additive thing to my building. So those are things that are kind of fundamentals to get started that we can even do a project. But then you add in energy prices, and sometimes people think the incentives, it has to be subsidized. But weirdly, the way energy prices are trending, this works without subsidy, and that's not necessarily a good thing because our energy prices are going up at historic rates, even in places like Oklahoma. Bear said 15%. That's crazy, but that's been consistent for the past 3 years. And we just added 2 data centers into our state, and all of the flyover states. And by the way, I don't say that in a derogatory way. It's just kind of where we are. We always think, oh, we're gonna have low energy cost indefinitely, but Indiana, Kentucky have seen incredible increases because all of the data centers are trying to get on these cheap energy rates. The problem is that's going to tax our grids, which is going to make energy prices go up even more. So while they've been going up at historic rates, we haven't even seen the start. And so why is it a good time now? Because a tsunami is getting ready to hit everyone's budget and we're not paying attention to it. Now, you also have the advantage that the Big Beautiful Bill allows you to 100% bonus depreciate. And that's kind of indefinitely. So solar qualifies for 100% bonus depreciation. That's pretty exciting for any business. It matters. It's pretty substantial. And that's not going away. That's not a tax incentive that's going to be lost. Now, there are tax incentives, that tax credits associated with these projects, and those are changing. And that happened with July 4th, Big Beautiful Bill. And there's things that Bear is urgently talking to every customer about so they understand what happens by the end of 25, what happens by mid 2026, what happens at the end of 27. But this is always our job. Tax incentives shift all the time. And so there are right now, Chris, today through the end of this year, you can kind of have it all. All of the best incentives are available. And so without incentives, things still hum. With incentives, it's crazy not to look at a solar project. And so I would say, you're saying, why is now the time? A lot of things. Prices are low, good partnerships with roofers. We understand how the built environment works. Energy prices, unfortunately, are skyrocketing. And then you add on a couple of things like bonus depreciation, some tax incentives. It's like, holy cow. If you don't look at solar, it's like, it's not prudent. It's not prudent.
Absolutely. And 4 years ago, when we first started really getting into try to get ahead of the market and understand how do we pair solar and roofing together, because we knew it was a demand, is a client need. Like you said, we wanted to help find a way to power communities as well. And while we're helping our clients with roofing solutions, we want to be able to have a solution for them that ties in with solar as well. But like I alluded to earlier, if you looked at solar 15 years ago, Tony, the numbers just did not make sense. The cost of materials were really, really high. Even though the utilities have continued to go up, you couldn't achieve a fair ROI. And so a lot of people looked at it initially and then just threw it away and discarded it. And now it's come full circle because utility prices have gone up. Some of the components in the solar systems, the prices have dropped enough over time just because of demand that it's made it a little bit more affordable. Then you mix in the tax incentives and you mix in everything that you just mentioned. Now is the time. And Kelly, are you getting a lot of feedback from roofing clients that this is something that is really interesting to them and they're entertaining it now?
Yeah, very much so. Clients in all 6 states we're in are looking at this heavily.
Okay. And have you had any success in taking 820 solar into, say, a school and showing them the benefits and having a school actually say, yes, we want to move forward with this? And how did that work?
Yeah, actually we have. We've had 2 really good cases. We've got a lot of other irons in the fire that Bear's been working on with our team here at CoryelleRoofing. We've got 2 successful cases. I can't say their name, obviously, but one in Oklahoma and one going on up in Missouri. The numbers are fantastic. The clients are ecstatic. Actually, it's going to save them millions of dollars over the next 30 years.
Which is so important, especially with the fact that we're working with public entities that are driven by taxpayer dollars. So ultimately, when Tony says we're powering communities, that's literal. Because when you can save a school district money, you're saving the entire community money. That's taxpayer dollars. And it's very real. And it's very, very long term, 30 years. Bear, do you get that? Are you hearing that from your clients as well?
Yeah, I don't want to infuse too much of my own story, but I'm a church planner by trade. And so you kind of get some twigs and duct tape and rope, and they say, go plan a really excellent church with little resources. And sadly, like our nonprofit organizations and communities kind of, I think, feel the same way, where they're under-resourced and have big burdens. And man, the projects that I get to put together with you guys and with our team makes really, really impactful impacts in those communities for millions of dollars. And the way that we get to put it together is really savvy. It's really wise, and it's really protective of all parties that are involved. And so, man, it's so much fun. I really love getting to do what I get to do, and I'm really honored. It's really rare where you get to do really, really good, high quality work and feel like you're making a really big impact. And it's fun to feel like I'm in a seat where I get to do that.
So, and powerful stuff there, Bear. Very, very powerful. And you're such a great guy that everybody wants to be around you. So they're eager to listen to what you have to say. Thanks for what you do for church plants too. That's pretty powerful stuff. So you're powering communities in multiple ways. I like that. So I want to ask Tony and Kelly to volley a little bit here, if you wouldn't mind. Walk us through the process. Walk us through, a client might show interest, or maybe they don't even know they have an interest, and you're going to bring it up to them. Kelly, take it from the perspective of, we're working with a client that knows they need some roofing solutions. How do we introduce them to solar? How do we take them through that process? When is the right time to get 820 involved? And then Tony, if you could help us understand, once you get involved, how quickly can it move? And are we looking at a turnkey solution when you're working with the roofing contractor and the solar contractor together? Why is that a good thing? Can you guys just help us understand, break it down?
Yeah, you bet. So our guys will go out to a rooftop and provide a roof performance assessment. And based on what the building is we're looking at, whether it's a school district or commercial industrial, we'll look at it and see what the need level is. At that point in time, we'll mention solar. And Bear and Tony have made it very, very easy. If there's an interest in solar, which we kind of try to drive a little bit, we get 12 months of energy bills, and literally it's a phone call to Bear. That's how it starts on our end. Then we turn it over to Tony.
Then where does it go, Tony?
Yeah. So it is that easy. And I want to stop and recognize that for anyone's thinking about solar. And you mentioned something earlier. If we looked at it 15 years ago, it's almost like you haven't looked at it. And I would say if you've looked at it before 22, you haven't looked at it with all the changes and price points. Like, you have to look at it again. But it's that simple. Like Kelly said, hey, there's an opportunity. Let's get 12 months of energy bills. That's the biggest lift for the district. If it's a school district, sometimes it's hard to find 12 energy bills on all their utility meters, but if that's the biggest problem that they're going to have to face, they got other fish to fry that are probably harder than that. We then take that and do an analysis. And sometimes there's 1 meter, sometimes there's 10, right? That's how all the school districts are. Sometimes there's 44. We then go run an analysis on a couple of the best opportunities. Not every solar project works. And we try to get to a no fast, Chris, because we don't want to waste anyone's time. It's like the biggest thing, like the unknown about how is this going to work. When you find out that I've got 10 bills and these 3 don't, these 7 are good, you actually feel pretty good. Like, okay, they're thinking about the best interest. And on our side, Barry mentioned our team's incredible. We have NAPCEP certified designers. They're going to take those bills, do an analysis, put it into feasibility, look at the roof size, say, can we do it? Because, Joplin, Missouri is different than Kansas, is different than Oklahoma City, is different than Tulsa. Every one of these utilities is different. There's different rules. And so we're taking a lot of really complex things. And within about 2 weeks, we bring it back to Kelly and say, hey, we've got a project designed and it can work or it cannot work. You said it's something important, though. We can do solar as a retrofit for anybody. Well, we can look at their project. They don't all work, but we can do it. But when you're putting on a new roof, it's the best time. It's the best time for 2 reasons. One, when you get a brand new roof, let's go ahead and do it right then. So you have 2 30-year warranty products versus a roof and then we put solar with, take it back off and then wait for a roof and then put it back on. That's obvious. But also, we're creating a thin layer of armor above the roof as well, which is kind of nice. We're doing it together. All the warranties are in place. You've made 2 20 to 30-year decisions, right? That's nice. But there's a financial advantage that's also associated with it. Because if you pair the right type of roofing technology that's reflective, at the same time you're putting on solar, part of that roof is actually going to qualify in a cost segregation study to receive tax benefits. So that's huge. And, solar technology, not to bore anyone with it, is it's a bifacial panel with a tilt. So it's a reflective roof surface, and you can actually get power from the bottom side and the roof's part of the solar system. So if you're repairing a roof, building a new building, obviously with a roof, you have to stop at that moment to look at solar. It's just crazy not to. So yeah, the process is pretty simple though. Really, Kelly did the hard part, which sounds like getting 12 months of energy bills, letting us do the analysis, do a couple weeks, and then saying, yeah, we got a deal or we don't.
That makes perfect sense, and it truly is a turnkey solution once you get those energy bills. But I agree with you. That's definitely the heavy lifting, and it can be cumbersome at times. And you're asking the administrative staff of a school or any kind of business to go back and look at every single meter over the past 12 months. It's a little bit of an ask, but it's worth the ask. It's worth it because, like you said, Tony, you'd be crazy not to look at solar options right now if you're even considering roofing. And quite frankly, you'd be crazy not to look at solar and then think about your roofing as well. Because in a lot of cases, if you pair roofing with solar, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Tony, but the incentives right now are such that when you pair roofing and solar together, it reduces the cost of the entire system, both roofing and solar together, drastically making it affordable, achieving low ROIs. It's a combination thing, right?
Substantially cheaper. And that's exactly what Bear said. It's a savvy approach. You have to make the decision together or it doesn't work. And so the roofing plus solar is way more powerful than either one of them independently.
Well, we're certainly happy that we started working with you guys because it has opened a lot of opportunities for us, not only to help power communities, but also to keep people protected with new roofing systems. And yes, you mentioned one thing that really caught my attention. The bifacial panels can actually draw energy from the bottom side of the panel, meaning that if you put a reflective membrane down, that is actually going to feed the solar panel from the bottom side. So when we're doing these studies and and assessments, we want to make sure and consider putting the right type of roofing material like Duralast that's 86, 87% UV reflective. It's actually going to feed the solar system as well. Have you guys seen some good results from that?
Yeah, absolutely. We first and foremost, because it is reflective, it qualifies for the tax credit. So the benefit comes up front.
Okay.
So that's huge. Second, we actually don't model the additional power from the reflective nature. So really every model we give a district is going to be boosted. So it's kind of like we're giving them additional free power. That's a conservative approach to take, and we always want to be conservative in the types of energy we're going to produce for a district. But that allows us to outproduce our models on a regular basis, which is not something solar companies are known for doing, is beating their models. So
right,
it's huge.
Hey, Bear, does this cost anything? When Kelly talks about gathering 12 months of energy bills from all the meters and then turning them over to your team, is this something you said it takes about 2 weeks from the time that you get the energy bills to run your models and come back with a system proposal? Is this going to cost a school district or a commercial enterprise? Is it expensive?
Yeah, so the analysis we do is actually free of charge. And I was thinking about this. It's pretty wild the amount of value we provide just to give you, hey, we're going to run a full audit on your bills. We're going to have our engineers design and size a system specifically for you. We're going to do a tax financial analysis, and then we're going to bring in capital solutions to bring these projects to life. And we're going to do that all as a service to you as an organization to make an informed decision. And we're all doing that just to like bring value and add value to people to make really wise, savvy decisions to take control of their energy. And so that all is a part of what we provide to our community. And our hope is that out of doing that and adding value, they're going to see the value and want to move forward and taking control for their energy. But yeah, that isn't at a charge to any of our customers.
Understood. You said something, capital solutions. I want to come back to in just a second, so don't let me forget that, Bear. But I want to ask the question that Kelly gets, that I've gotten, that our entire team gets every time solar is brought up. How does it stand up to hail?
You want to take it? You want me to?
You got it.
Yeah, it's pretty unbelievable how progressed the technology is. So it's stronger than a class 4 shingle. It's not indestructible, so it is comparable, right? But yeah, it can take 1-inch hail at 100-mile-per-hour wind at direct impact. But like Tony mentioned earlier, our panels are at a tilt, and so it's kind of just sheathing off of the panel. We've had 4 or 5 customers where substantial hailstorms have come through and actually compromised other parts of the roof that weren't covered. None of Corielle's Duralast ones. But areas where the roof was compromised, and actually we had to go and take our panels off, have the roof repaired, and then put that same technology back up. So I love that we're in Oklahoma, right? Because hail comes up all the time as a natural question, understandably. And these panels are pretty darn resilient.
Kelly, how important is that, especially when we're working with school districts and obviously insurance companies? Our goal is to protect people, property, and policy being a big part of that. We're trying to prevent loss. So when you're having the conversation with a client about the potential of solar on the roof, is that a big item for them? They're concerned about, will it stand up to the weather that we get?
Yeah, it's a common question that we get, and it's really nice to be paired up with 820. Their products, their choice, what the system they install on the rooftop is matched up extremely well. So yeah, we get that question, but it's really not much of a concern. It's gonna hold up just like the good Duralast roof system.
Got it. Okay, so what were you going to remind me about, Bear?
Capital Solutions. I got you,
Capital
Corey.
Solutions. So let's talk about that for a second. I'd like Tony to weigh in on this if he can. Not only have you guys created a system solution, the assessment process, the modeling, the engineering, the proposal to the client, the roofing plus solar solution, using tax incentives, using rebates. So talk to us about capital. How does that work? You've literally pieced that together as well. And does that apply to roofing and solar combined? Tony?
Yeah. So think of 820 as a solar construction company. And we put a lot of projects together for commercial entities for profit. But then we start getting into the nonprofit space, like you all. Obviously, you guys are very, very deeply entrenched in K through 12, doing incredible work there. That space doesn't have tax incentive, right? They don't have tax liability. And so we kind of had a challenge in our nonprofit work that we had a product that they all wanted, because schools would love to cut their operating spend and put more money towards the classroom. Like, there's not a school we've run into that said, no, we really love paying energy bills. This is fantastic. So with that being said, but they couldn't put the capital up. The bonding cycles are off. A lot of reasons it was creating a little bit of a challenge. They didn't have the tax liability that typically was used to drive a lot of solar development. And so we created another company called Brightwell. And Brightwell is a capital company that finances nonprofits. And so we actually have stacks of investors that purchase projects for school systems, food banks, boys and girls clubs, zoos. There's solar projects that are pretty strong, and they can be combined with roofs. And why do our investors buy these projects? Because they do make a return. There's tax benefits and there's return, but it's a modest return and it's the impact return. And they love doing these projects for nonprofits in their community or communities nationwide. So yeah, when we show up, I'm also the CEO and owner of Brightwell. It's a nationwide company that capitalizes really, really cool energy projects, solar and roofing, or adding geothermal and others, but to power again our community's projects. So when Bear walks in, unequivocally he has to do all the design of the construction company. Where these projects oftentimes end, and I think you talked about this initially, that you guys have looked at a lot, is you either couldn't get them to pencil, which that was before 22,
right?
So you can now, but you also didn't know how you're going to fund it, right? And so if you can show a project that pencils, and that you bring the capital to the table to do a $800,000, $1.3 million, $1.8 million deal, and the district doesn't feel burdened, they feel relief. Now all of a sudden it's like, wait, what just happened? This is a different experience. I was expecting something that was going to be hard for our board governance process to pass to, hey, this feels really right. Like, what are we missing? Nothing. We're taking advantage of a really savvy model that's available. And honestly, the governance processes now are really fun, which is, think about public governance processes. There's not a lot of things that can go through in a super simple way where we can meet with a board 2-3 meetings and we've made $1 million plus decision. And that's kind of what we're doing with our capital solution.
So you've taken your background in finance and you've created a company called Brightwell that literally pulls in private investors that are tax-paying investors, and they say, you know what? I'll make the investment into that community. I'll buy the solar system for them, and there's a return to them. So it's an investment play, but it's also helping power the community. They get the feel good out of it. And they're paying for the system, getting the benefits like from the big, beautiful bill that you mentioned, whereas the nonprofit wouldn't necessarily get those benefits. So it's a win-win for everybody in the solution. Is that correct?
It's a very normal transaction. Chris, like the thing we did about it that was revolutionary, or the innovation, is instead of doing it on like institutional monies, doing it for institutional properties, like a third party buying Walmart's panels and leasing to each other. That's been going on since 2006. It's like these rails are not new, but we brought it down to this individual lawyer buys the food bank, and they both win by connecting those two dots. And that's actually wild because they're impacting something they care about. They're at a ribbon cutting ceremony. They're making a modest, but they are making a return, right?
Right.
But the return is setting the most advantageous utility rates that the food bank has ever had. And so it's a celebration. And that win-win is what we put together. We call it Brightwell. And yeah, Brightwell's a really cool product because its mission is one thing: to put billions back into our community's missions. That's their super secret plan. And so that's why Bear gets to use a finance company that has an impact at its heart to fund a school. And that's where it gets pretty fun.
It's really fun. So this applies to not only school districts, K-12 school districts, but we've seen it in universities. We've seen it in the healthcare industry. We've seen it in commercial establishments. Is there really any limit to who can qualify for this, or who it would make sense to go through the assessment process, look at the utility bills, and
what I would
go
say
down the
is
path?
any commercial entity should go through the assessment, but you don't need Brightwell because you pay taxes typically, right? So you'll just take your own tax liability and use that. Brightwell focuses on any nonprofit. So to your point, schools are great, K through 12. Higher ed's great, colleges, universities. Cities, we've done some cities lately. State buildings, think about zoos. What we're getting ready to do is the history museum. Think about boys and girls clubs, YMCA's. The list goes on and on. Churches, obviously, we've done a lot of work in that space. We're working with some dioceses for larger districts of churches. But really, we're looking to make an impact. Typically, what we look for is, which is really nice for your listeners, Chris, we want big roofs where we put a lot of solar, right? That's key for us. We need roofs that are flat and big, and I guess not flat, they can be pitched, but we want a lot of space. And typically we're looking for organizations that have been around for 5 years or more, that have their own building, and that want to offset millions of dollars over 30 years. We're looking for long-term plays.
That's really exciting. There's no limit to this. There's a lot of institutions and entities that can benefit tremendously. So it's time to look at solar. It's really, this is the right time to be exploring it, going through the assessment. And again, like Bear said, this isn't something that you guys charge for. So Kelly, if you could, just in final thoughts, give me a takeaway on what you would encourage clients to consider when they're looking at solar.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. Call us out. We'll look at your roof. We'll engage Bear and his team, and you just take the first steps. Once again, it doesn't cost you anything, and all you're going to get is good information. Hopefully, we can come up with a good system for you between CoryelleRoofing and 820 Solar, and maybe even tie in Brightwell. So there's nothing to lose here.
That's a great point. There's nothing to lose. Why would you not do it? Now is the time. Tony's said it multiple times since 2022. If you haven't seen solar, you haven't seen solar at all. So it's now is the time. Bear, what about you? Do you have any takeaways on this? What are your thoughts on what we need to be telling clients all over Oklahoma and the other 6 states that you guys work in?
Yeah, we hit on it some. I think one thing just to reiterate is Tony mentioned the incoming tsunami. Just from the energy market. For reference, we did an audit of a Costco that had 2 Tesla level 2 chargers that were charging, and those 2 cars were using the same amount of power as the Costco. And so I say that to say, like, the amount of energy that's coming from data centers, as an example, there's a data center in Oklahoma that's going to double the amount of energy of the population of a town. And so when you think about energy demand that's coming, man, I worked with a church I'd served on staff with, and the rates went up 7% in the amount of time that we'd started developing the project prior to them signing the project. And that 7% represented $12,000 of OpEx to energy costs to that church. And so we've kind of been getting death by 1,000 paper cuts, and it feels like the paper cuts are getting bigger. And I wish I could say they were going to get smaller, but I really feel like it's my responsibility to educate people on what is coming. And so if you haven't thought about how do I take control of my OpEx, and to get to do it with a roof where, and I can take your energy savings from your operating expense and help you pay for your roof, it's a really, really cool transaction.
It's powerful.
When I get to
No pun intended. It is powerful. Tony, take us out, man. Give us some final thoughts. Talk to people about what they should be doing right now.
Yeah. So this has been a great conversation, and normally I'd sum it up with a high level comment, but I'm going to give a very tactical takeaway. Laws do matter and timelines do matter. And while we're really excited about these things, you have two really big dates that you need to be aware of if you're thinking about this. We've got plenty of time, but you said it's kind of our job to communicate and educate. At the end of this year, the laws change, and there's a big shift on how the solar economics will benefit a organization. So I'd say if you want to look at a project, look at it now. Here's the cool thing. Like sometimes oh my gosh, I have 3 months. That's not a lot of time. It's October 1 today. You can make a decision and still implement a project over the next 4 years. So you need to look at it and start making decisions in 2025, but you can do it for a project you're going to build in 26, 27, 28, or 29. So if you have a bond cycle, if you have a project coming up, if you have a new build, if you've already planned a roof in the future, now's the time to look. You need to look and make a decision. The next best time, which I'll give you, is before July 4th of next year. So by July 3rd, there's another big cliff coming in. They're different. I'm not going to get into the details on those, but that one you can capture any project you're going to install from 26 to 2030. So you have 9 months of to really look at projects. This first 3-month cycle, you should give Kelly your bills. You should, get with Bear, like 100%. And if you can make a decision there, that's A. B is before July 4th of next year. After that, the rules are going to change substantially. And listen, solar is going to be easy to sell after that too. It's still going to work because costs have gone up so much, everything. But right now you're actually picking up gravy, right? And so we want to make sure people know about the opportunities now. And so it would be a disservice to say you should actually rush to get your bills to be examined in Q4, and then the first half of 2026. If I was an organization, if I was on a board, I've been on the board of a couple nonprofits, I'd be saying, let's get this done ASAP, because you're kind of getting your cake and eating it too. You're getting all the incentives in a really cool way. So I've loved the conversation. Roof plus solar is something that it's always going to work. It's beautiful. It's a great transaction. It's the economics, the capital, it all works, but it fundamentally comes down to a construction project with people you trust. And that's honestly what gets us really excited about this. Like, we both care about the customers, are going to take care of the customers well, and we're going to make impacts for decades. And that's pretty fun.
I love the way you present, Tony. You're just so professional, and the way you guys go to market is a powerful, powerful thing, especially for us to partner with. So thank you guys for your thoughts, for your opinions. I mean, you've heard it here today. Now is the time for solar. It's time to look at it. It's time to dig in, get your utility bills, call Corielle Roofing, call 820 Solar. We want to work with you. We want to partner together and provide you with some solutions. And look, this is more than just a financial obligation. This is a community obligation. We all owe it to ourselves to conserve energy. We are short on energy in the United States. We all have to do our part to make sure that we continue creating renewable energy sources. And that's exactly what 820 Solar does. That's exactly what Corielle Roofing does with energy efficient roof systems. So we're looking forward to working with anybody that would like to take advantage of time is now. Corielle Roofing, setting the standard. You've heard all about solar today. Thanks for joining us. Kelly, Bear, Tony, appreciate you guys being with us.
Great. Thank you for having us.
Thanks.